How do you find exhibition opportunities? Calls for entry, which we'll talk about more in just a second. Networking, which we will talk about more after that. And then organizing your own, which is something that you always have available to you, even if it presents a daunting amount of work. Generally, calls for entry rely on numerous artists applying for a limited number of opportunities and then someone selecting them. Registries and flat files used to be more important when distributing images was much more expensive and difficult. Distributing a portfolio of your digital images is much easier, and so many of the artist registries that existed previously have modified their approach. You will still find some places, though, that will collect a lot of images, essentially in a database, that they can then make available to independent or local curators. Many local nonprofits will offer this feature, as will art dealers or agencies like 9 Arts down in Denver. Sometimes these registries are entirely public, on the internet for anyone to see. The State Department, for example, maintains a registry of artists who are interested in exhibiting their work as part of the Art in Embassies program. You're probably familiar with any number of online mega registries like Saatchi Online. And then there are numerous artist registries where you pay to play. Either pay a fee to get juried in, pay an annual fee to continue your listing, or pay a membership to join. There are others that, rather than making their money by collecting fees from the artists up front, will collect a commission on art sales. So where does one find out about open calls or juried exhibitions? There are 3 websites that are free for artists to use that you should look into. College Art Association, on their collegeart.org opportunities page, will list grants, residencies, and exhibition opportunities. These will range from juried exhibitions to open calls, where museums or academic galleries offer the opportunity to secure a solo exhibition in an upcoming season. Callforentry.org, or CAFE, was originally organized by a consortium of Western states' arts councils, and for that reason continues to have a lot of public art opportunities. But they are also a place where you can apply for open calls, juried exhibitions, and even some grants. Callforentry.org differs from the College Art Association listings in that you're applying through CAFE's website. This is the case for Submittable as well. Submittable.com has a Discover page where you can look for artist opportunities. Submittable caters more to literary opportunities, but their interface is easy to use and a lot cheaper than SlideRoom, so more and more juried exhibitions, open calls, and grants are being run through Submittable. Both Call for Entry and Submittable allow you to apply through their website, as opposed to just the listings you'll find on College Art Association's page. Call for Entry is further distinguished by allowing you to upload images so that you've got selected portfolios ready to go without having to reload your images each time. Submittable will allow you to register and keep track of the opportunities to which you've applied, but you will be uploading new materials for every opportunity. There are also a number of paid services that will give you listings of juried exhibitions. ArtDeadline.com, ArtDeadlinesList.com, which somehow are 2 different businesses, ArtShow.com, EntryThingy.com, and for those of you who hate trees, Art Calendar Magazine, I believe, is still printed on actual paper. To be honest, most of the paid listings, though larger, achieve that size by listing a lot of things that aren't relevant to you, much more local or limited eligibility opportunities that they use to pad out their listings. How do you know if you want to apply to an open call or a juried exhibition? Well, the first question is, does it feel like a scam? Because there's really nothing that stops somebody from deciding that they're going to curate an online exhibition and charge artists $35, $50, $75 to apply. There is a website called How's My Dealing that tries to expose some of the more scammy sides of the art world, but mostly you just have to go on your impressions and your instinct. One good thing to do is to look up who they've shown in the past and see whether or not that's the kind of work you want to be associated with. Also, it's a good way to research your fit. There are going to be any number of exhibitions that are completely legitimate, but still don't cater to the part of the art world you're operating in. Just because you make watercolors doesn't necessarily mean that you want to apply to the watercolor society that's looking for pretty pictures of flowers. Another way to determine whether or not a juried exhibition is worth entering is if there are supplemental opportunities that come with it. Perhaps you could win awards or prizes of some kind. Do they publish a catalog that you would be able to use for marketing purposes? Sometimes open calls will also allow you to come onto campus and give a workshop or demonstration. Some juried exhibitions will have follow-up exhibitions where selected artists will get to have a solo or a focused group exhibition in subsequent years. When applying to juried shows, make sure you follow the directions, especially about image dimensions. Everybody's got their own set of rules. Make sure you're following all the paperwork guidelines precisely. So many people apply to juried and open call exhibitions that at some point the curators are looking for a reason to say no. People who don't follow the directions are easily cut. Be aware of the installation requirements of your piece and make sure that it's going to be safe to exhibit in that space. If you're applying for an open call for a solo exhibition, try to find a floor plan or at least some indication of the linear feet, basically how much wall space is in the gallery, so that you have an idea as to whether or not you're going to be able to fill it, or if your proposal is actually too big for their space. For juried exhibitions, you're expected to deliver the work ready to hang, which means that it's either framed or at least has a wire on the back. So all they have to do is drive a nail in the wall. Things that require more complex installation might be appropriate for some opportunities, but often you're going to have to show up and install it yourself. Finally, you want to consider the expenses. Unfortunately, it's fairly common to charge an entry fee for juried exhibitions. Open calls, because they happen often in nonprofit or academic spaces, don't always charge, but even then, they'll frequently charge at least a small fee. Anywhere from $10 to $35 or so is fairly common. Increasingly, fees can get up into the $50 range, and anything above that, I would be curious as to whether or not they're actually working in the artist's best interest. If you get in, you might also have to pay for delivery or shipping costs. It used to be standard that you would pay to get it to them, and then they would pay to get it back. But I am seeing more and more where shipping in both directions is the responsibility of the artist. Another hidden expense is, do you need that work somewhere else? If you've got a solo show coming up, can you spare a piece for the juried exhibition? The increasing prevalence of online exhibitions would allow your work to be in more than one place at the same time.